Today on Notsam Wrestling, pro wrestling is back, and so is the Raw after Wrestlemania. We begin a new era of the WWE, and I begin with an apology. This is Notsam Wrestling. We are officially post-WrestleMania. No emergency podcast, no nothing. I told you. The podcast right after WrestleMania, immediate reactions, emergency podcast. Those are podcasts designed to get our feelings out, to tap into the raw emotions that if you didn't feel leaving WrestleMania 40, you may need to check your pulse for. Now, we're here. We're buttoned up. We're professional. Although I don't have a suit on, I am out of the dingy hotel room, into the Notsam studio, and here to talk about what is a new era in the WWE as advertised by both Triple H and on night 2, Stephanie McMahon, of all people. But before we get to anything else, I want to tell you something, okay? Not to make excuses, but I need to make an excuse. Sunday was a big day for me, okay? The whole weekend, this WrestleMania, was absolutely insane. If you guys follow me at NotSam on social media, you know this already. The whole weekend was absolutely nuts. No sleep, a lot of the most amazing life experiences you could have in any professional capacity. But Sunday specifically, I wake up, not a lot of sleep. Of course, the night before, not a lot of sleep because I woke up early to do the stand and deliver, the countdown to stand and deliver, and then head over to the stadium, record some stuff for the bump behind the scenes, watch WrestleMania, come back home, do an emergency podcast, get it up online, try to get, whatever it is, 4 or 5 hours of sleep, only to wake up first thing on Sunday morning, head over to WWE World, where I am, of all things, a presenter at the Slammy Awards. Do you understand the significance of this? Do you understand that somewhere young Sam Roberts, who watched Todd Pettengill sing parody songs to the WWE superstars before WrestleMania 12, advertising that it's the Slammy Awards, is here at the Slammy Awards, not only presenting a Slammy alongside Megan Morant, but we're presenting the one-man gang moment of the year to CM Punk. I presented a Slammy Award to CM Punk, as if that wasn't enough. 45 minutes later, we're back on stage at WWE World, where it's the Elite Squad. It's me, it's Bill McKenna, it's Steve Hoser, and we welcome CM Punk, sharing the stage with CM Punk twice inside of like an hour and a half, so that I can help Bill and Steve and the fine folks at Mattel show CM Punk all the new CM Punk action figures that he's getting. And if you know anything about me, collecting CM Punk action figures is a thing that I do. As if that wasn't enough of a trip. After that, Megan and I go over to the stadium. We're ready for night 2 now of WrestleMania. And we're hanging out in the stadium. We start watching the show. And already we got title changes. We got all this stuff happening around me. And in the middle of it all, right after they announce the Hall of Fame class of 2024, I'm backstage. And the incredible producers at the bump, I'm talking about Ryan and Nash, line me up to meet Bull Nakano, the icon of all icons, and get me a picture with Bull Nakano. Then I go back out to the floor after I just met Bull Nakano and tell her what a fan I am, and she's telling me thank you. I go back out to the floor, and I watch the most incredible WrestleMania main event I've ever seen in my life, with the Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, and they're going back and forth. And there's Jimmy, and there's Jay, and there's Solo, and there's John Cena, and there's The Rock, and there's The Undertaker, there's Seth Rollins. And that's the hiccup, because I go home after all of this in just a state of exhaustion, but hyper endorphins fueling me past any of that I might be feeling, and emotions running absolutely crazy. And I come to you on this podcast and I give maybe the worst analysis that I've ever given in 494 weeks. 494 weeks of Notsam Wrestling. and you come to me, and I have the great honor of being able to sit here and talk about wrestling and have the absolute privilege to have people like you put your headphones on, flip your phone on, and watch or listen to me do this week after week. This is a privilege that I don't take lightly, and a responsibility that I feel that I have, and I failed you. I come to you and I go, I don't know why Seth Rollins was in the Shield outfit. I gave the Seth Rollins part of the Roman Reigns Cody Rhodes match no credit whatsoever, when in actuality, it was the most important part of the match. And I apologize for that. I apologize for just hideous analysis of that part of the match. The rest of the podcast, I felt completely comfortable with. I'd come back home. I had not watched the match back on television. I'm standing in that stadium. On one side, it's Megan Morant. On the other side, it's Lars Fredrickson from Rancid. Behind me, it's Peter Rosenberg. We're all flipping out, watching this spectacle. And I was in no state to give an analysis. And I apologize for that. Because the fact is that what we saw in that main event at WrestleMania was the most awe-inspiring thing that I've maybe ever seen at a WrestleMania. The main event to WrestleMania 40, Night 2, was such an incredible feat because it did what I believe is going to be the calling card of what this new era is. It celebrates the past. It celebrates the history of this thing that we call sports entertainment or professional wrestling, WWE. But it does so in such a way that at the end of the day, it's today's heroes that come out looking like the stars. This is something that we see so rarely throughout the history of WWE. When I talk about not liking WrestleMania 27, much to the Miz's chagrin, by the way, on multiple different media outlets, the Miz now apparently hates me because I don't like WrestleMania 27. But the reason that I don't like WrestleMania 27 is because when that show ended, The Rock, who was not an active member of the roster, looked to be the most unstoppable force and better than either John Cena or The Miz, the two top stars that would be tasked with fueling the WWE for the next year before The Rock came back. I always had a problem with it. That's not the problem that we have anymore. We realize that we can celebrate this history, but use this history to tell a story that's happening in the present. We get everything that the bloodline went through and before the bloodline went through. And that's where Seth Rollins comes in. So, of course, as we talked about on the Emergency podcast on Sunday, Jimmy Uso is the first bloodline member to interfere in the match. Jey Uso comes out to help his partner, to help Cody Rhodes, and he spears Jimmy Uso off that stage. And the match continues. And then Solo Sikoa comes out and does the exact same thing to Cody Rhodes that he did at WrestleMania 39. And we think that he's going to do everything he needs to do to make sure that Roman Reigns gets the win. But who comes out? The leader of the Chain Gang Soldiers. John Cena comes out. The last time we saw John Cena, Solo was destroying his larynx. This time, he's ready for revenge. He takes out Solo Sikoa. That's when the final boss comes out. The last time we saw the John Cena and the final boss together, John Cena was beating The Rock. That was WrestleMania 29. And The Rock comes out, he gets his revenge on John Cena, he takes out John Cena. That's when Seth Rollins comes out, and he prepares to do the exact same thing to The Rock that he did to Roman Reigns. Hit him in the back with a steel chair. The Roman Reigns has seen it way too many times before. He spears the hell out of Seth Rollins. Doesn't allow the betrayal that happened to him to happen to his cousin, The Rock. The Undertaker comes out, takes out The Rock, disappears. Now it's down to Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns with Seth Rollins laid out in the ring. Seth Rollins told Cody Rhodes I will be your shield. Seth Rollins starts to get to his feet as Roman Reigns gets to his feet. We see Cody Rhodes off to the side somewhere. We don't know where he is. He's out of frame. Roman Reigns picks up that steel chair. What he should be doing is beating the stuffing out of Cody Rhodes and finishing this match and taking his title home. But instead, he sees Seth Rollins' back. Seth Rollins being the one person that Roman Reigns was never able to beat 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins being the first person who betrayed Roman Reigns. If you go down the path of Roman Reigns, when he loses people, it's because they betray him. Now, it could be his responsibility that it happens. It could be the fact that he wasn't treating them very well, but ultimately, he is the one who gets betrayed. It started with the Shield when Seth Rollins betrayed Roman Reigns by hitting him in the back with a steel chair. It was the same thing that Sami Zayn did at the Royal Rumble in 2023. Then it was Jey Uso who betrayed Roman Reigns. And all of that that started with the initial breakup of the Shield was going through the mind of Roman Reigns as he realized that Seth Rollins' back was to him and he was holding a chair. Now, it was very clear to anybody that was watching, should have been more clear to me, that Seth Rollins was feeding his back to Roman Reigns, that Seth Rollins was putting himself in harm's way. Seth Rollins was telling the truth the whole time. He realized that whether he's the World Heavyweight Champion or not, that whether they won the tag team match on night one or not, Seth needs to get the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship out of the hands of Roman Reigns. And he may not be able to do that physically. He may not be able to do it one-on-one. He may not be able to take out Roman Reigns. But he knows that the potential of Roman Reigns getting his revenge on Seth Rollins is the one thing to distract Roman Reigns from his ultimate goal of winning this Universal Championship match. And so that's what he does. He shows his back to Roman Reigns on purpose. This is the Shield. This is what he's doing for Cody Rhodes. And Roman Reigns levels him across the back with that steel chair. And when he turns around, it's just enough time. It's just the distraction that Cody Rhodes needed to lock 3 crossroads onto Roman Reigns and pin him 1, 2, 3. That third hand comes down, and you can't believe what you've seen. This is the proper analysis. As after the match, as all the heroes of the WWE enter the ring to celebrate Cody Rhodes, it's Seth Rollins who's on the outside of the ring, and Cody knows what Seth has done for Cody. He's acted for maybe the first time in a completely selfless way to accomplish the goal of simply separating Roman Reigns and that championship. And Cody and Seth shake hands, and Seth looks right in Cody's eyes, and the two acknowledge what they've done for each other. It was absolutely beautiful. As a matter of fact, Seth Rollins' contribution to that match was, for the long-term story, for the future, for what's going on right now, the most important contribution to that match. This is how doing matches like this, with all these elements, with The Undertaker and The Rock and all this stuff going on, is how we figure out how to tell a story that is the story of WrestleMania, that is the story of WWE, that is a celebration of 40 years of WrestleMania, but ultimately is also a story that we've been watching play out for what we thought was 3.5 years, but what was realistically going all the way back to the Shield. Seth Rollins coming out in that Shield outfit and taking that damage from Roman Reigns is the quintessential display of rule number 3. Everything counts. Everything counts. Whether it's comments that people make on an interview, whether it's things people post on social media, whether it's storyline beats that happened years and years and years ago, before the bloodline. Everything counts, and everything is brought back in to create a motivation for these characters that we're watching. Roman Reigns made a mistake. Roman Reigns fought emotionally. Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns to become the champion. He's the only guy who could do that. But Seth Rollins is the one that mentally beat Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins is the one that got one over on Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins outthought and outwitted Roman Reigns. Ultimately, you could argue that Seth Rollins is the one that knew Roman Reigns. The whole time, Roman was calling him his little brother. You're my little brother, blah, blah, blah. Seth knew exactly where to strike. Struck. Took the damage the way a Shield does. And Cody Rhodes becomes the Universal Champion. It's one of the best stories that I've ever seen played out. It was as appropriate an ending to this chapter in the Bloodline story that you could possibly ask for. The Bloodline story is so spectacular that on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, 7 years ago, after WrestleMania 33, Roman Reigns came in after beating The Undertaker, only the second man to beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns showed up to Monday Night Raw as a babyface, stood in the ring, and got booed out of the building. 7 years later, and I mean minutes and minutes and minutes, real boos. Not fun boos, not Dominic Mysterio boos, not the boos The Rock got on Raw. I mean real boos. Boos that let Roman and the rest of the world and the WWE know that Roman can beat The Undertaker. Roman can beat whoever you want. Roman can beat God himself. Roman's not our guy. 7 years later, Cody Rhodes is holding the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. And even though Roman Reigns has just completed a 3.5-year reign of terror, a complete heel who held the title hostage, the fans already realize the contribution that Roman Reigns and the Bloodline story made to WWE as we know it today. And instead of booing anyone out of the building, they're chanting, "Thank you, Roman." Roman wasn't even in the ring. And the fans in Philadelphia, the same city where Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble, the same building. You understand that Monday Night Raw on Monday took place in the same building that Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble in 2015, when The Rock raised Roman's arm in the air and the crowd booed him. I was there. I was in the audience. 7 years later, that was 2015. So 9 years later, Roman's not even in the ring. And after being beat for that world title, fans are chanting, "Thank you, Roman." It is a remarkable story that this Roman Reigns has told already. And I say has told already because, it was almost like you're ready to deal with the fact that Roman Reigns might be gone for a while, might be packing it up. Who knows? He made claims on the A&E biography that once he gets beat, once he loses that title, he's going away. Some people interpreted that as retirement. I interpreted it as he'll probably disappear for a while, and at some point, he'll just make his presence known again. It's not unlike Roman Reigns to disappear after WrestleMania anyway. However, today, Tuesday, 36 hours after losing the WWE Championship, Roman Reigns posted a tweet. And let me tell you something. When the tribal chief uses social media, you take a look. And it was just a video of what appeared to be Roman on a treadmill or something like that, staring at the camera intensely. Staring at the camera with what appeared to be a look of a thirst for vengeance plastered across his handsome face. And the words, "Yesterday I mourned. Today is day one," were written on that tweet. Roman is letting everybody know he's coming back. He's coming back strong, and he's coming back hard. Who's to say we won't get another Roman Reigns bloodline run before this is all over? But the way the WWE has, in 2 days, set up what a post-WrestleMania world looks like. You know, we don't know what Cody Rhodes is doing immediately next. We don't know if Cody Rhodes is going to be defending the Universal Championship at Backlash, and we don't know who it would be against yet. Watching Raw, we got no hints as to who Cody's first opponent might be. But what we did get was now two things. Roman Reigns making that social media video, letting the world know that from today onwards, everything that he does is in training to get back what's his. And I mean, just with the facial expression, you go, this guy's going to wreck everyone. You know, you almost forget that when the Bloodline story started, like the Bloodline story got to a point where there were so many enemies of Roman Reigns that every match he won was interference. Every match he won was some. It was more survival, right? But the original Bloodline Roman Reigns was wreck everyone and leave. Stack them up, Roman Reigns. That's the Roman Reigns that started this Bloodline run. That's the Roman Reigns that I want to see return. And it would explain, right? This is something that we were asking for. I was asking for. Starting with this year, I said at the Royal Rumble, I wanted to see Roman Reigns just dominate the three other dudes that were in this fatal four-way. And he didn't. It was interference again. And it was disappointing. Maybe the reason all that's done is so he can leave after WrestleMania. And when he comes back, that's when we get the new Roman. That's when we get the Roman who wrecks everyone and leaves. That's when we get the Roman that needs to now remind the world, has something to prove, needs to show everybody why he's the tribal chief and why he's earned the right to claim ownership over everything we see across the universe that is WWE. So we go, what's next? Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes at some point having a rematch? Well, that is until last night on Monday Night Raw. And I will say that I felt like Monday Night Raw was a real, I don't want to say throwback, but it was a return to the Raw after WrestleMania. The last couple years, the Raw after WrestleMania has not been the Raw after WrestleMania that we came to know and love. Has not been the Raw after WrestleMania where we saw Brock Lesnar return. Has not been the Raw after WrestleMania where people argue whether this might even be better than WrestleMania was. Now, I don't think anybody's going to make the argument that this week's Raw was better than WrestleMania, but that's probably because the argument that's being made is that WrestleMania 40 Night 2 might be the best WrestleMania that anybody's ever seen, especially with that ending. But it was absolutely, to me, a return to what the Raw after WrestleMania is supposed to be. It was amazing appearances, right? You had Triple H, The Rock, John Cena, and CM Punk all making surprise appearances on one episode of Raw. You had Jade Cargill in a singles. You had Ilya Dragunov, NXT champion, in a surprise match. You had Roxanne Perez, NXT women's champion, in a surprise match. And you end the show with, of all people, Jey Uso becoming the number one contender and looking ahead to the fact that we're going to get Damien Priest and Jey Uso as your World Heavyweight Championship match at some point, maybe at Backlash, maybe before that. As well as an announcement of the draft, letting you know that 3 weeks from now is when we'll get that draft. And in the meantime, everything is on the table. There was almost a feeling of, I expected more surprises because we've been getting so much on this road to WrestleMania. Like the fact that everything that I just described could happen, and we're going like, yeah, that's what WWE is now, is so sick for us wrestling fans. We are so incredibly spoiled right now. And oh yeah, there's 2 national wrestling promotions that we can just fill our cups with. It is awesome. Absolutely incredible. But you had The Rock come out and interrupt. So Triple H comes out and he thanks, the fans in Philly, and the fans in Philly thank Triple H. And he introduces the fact that this is a new era. And like I said in some of the emergency instant WrestleMania reaction podcasts, it feels like instead of WrestleMania 40 being a culmination, WrestleMania 40 is a launching point. That as hot as WWE has been, clearly based on sellouts in the last, this year, basically since the beginning of this year, it was like they decided in 2024, we're going to kick this into another gear. And this isn't a gear that we're kicking things into to hype up WrestleMania. This is a gear that we're kicking things into because this is what the product is going to be right now. And we're kicking things into this gear starting with day one. And we're going to go all the way to the point that WrestleMania becomes the launching pad for what is going to be this next era. And how better to create a launching pad for the next era than to present the new leader of the next era, a new WWE Universal Champion. The impossible happens. Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes comes out. Triple H plays a piece of production. By the way, it definitely feels like production is getting more love, right? Couple of shout outs to Brian Fathom on television at WrestleMania and on Raw. You had Triple H pointing out the production in Stamford had made that video package. And, and that's a great thing to do. People work really, really hard behind the scenes, and a little bit of acknowledgement goes an incredibly long way. I mean, when I tell you, in my personal experience, the most awe-inspiring part of the WWE is what's happening behind the scenes. You don't understand. The fact that we get as much as we get, as often as we get, and we get it live is impossible without this incredible behind-the-scenes team. Go back and watch that WrestleMania pre-show and look at how fast it's moving. Look at how many different elements there are in that pre-show. Watch WrestleMania and look at the different cameras. Look at everything that's going on. There are people behind every single thing that you're seeing. And when you're just getting bombarded with stuff, the whole first hour of Monday Night Raw was commercial-free this week. And then after that, we're doing Raw Talk, where we're able to watch Raw and instantly react to it, but also watch that show. It's full of different production elements flying at every time you turn around. How is that possible? Because a nutso behind the scenes staff. It's amazing. So Triple H puts on the video package for Cody Rhodes, and people are loving it, and Cody Rhodes is getting emotional, and it's what Cody Rhodes is all about. It's great. And then just as Cody Rhodes is thanking the fans and taking ownership of this era, if you smell what The Rock is cooking, the first surprise of the night, people go nuts as The Rock's music hits, and The Rock does what The Rock does. He makes sure that as excited as the people are to see him, that they twist and that they're booing him. And they boo him to the extent that he doesn't even get his promo started for minutes on end. But I loved the delivery of The Rock on the Raw after WrestleMania. It was psychotic. The Rock with that first day of school bully in the cafeteria energy. Let's be honest. The Rock with that jailhouse prison energy. Well, there's some nice shoes you got there. Where'd you get those shoes? I love them. You mind if I try them on? Staring daggers into you. Not blinking. Come on, what do you think I'm going to do? Why don't you let me try those shoes on? And everything is being said without it being said. The Rock literally goes to Cody Rhodes. I got a belt, but that's a nice belt. Let me hold it. I mean, anybody that went to public school has had some intimidating presence asking you to hold something. When I was in 3rd grade, we moved back to New York, and I went to public schools right outside Manhattan. And I'll never forget the first time in the cafeteria when they had pretzel sticks, 3 for a quarter. Hey, man, you're new here, right? Yeah. Hey, man, it's great to meet you. I'm trying to get some pretzel sticks. Let me hold a quarter. Excuse me? I said, let me hold a quarter. Come on, man. You don't think I'm going to pay you back? I let him hold a quarter. He went and got his pretzel sticks. 2 weeks later, he came back to me. Hey, Sam, I'm trying to get some pretzel sticks. Let me hold a quarter. I said, no, because you didn't pay me back the last time. And he looked at me and he said, yes, I did. I paid you back. I said, all right, here's your quarter. And I became an ATM. That's what happens. That's what The Rock, that was The Rock's full energy. Just slow, methodical, intimidating. And then the fact that Cody Rhodes said, let me hold yours. It was like, whoa. I thought it was great. I thought Cody Rhodes was going to respond and say, yeah, you can hold this title if you can beat me for this title. Whoa. But he didn't need to say that. He let The Rock hold the title. We got the image. Something feels right about this. This just feels at home, doesn't it? Doesn't this feel good? And it's just like, Jesus, Rock, you are a scary man. And The Rock said it straight up. Cody, congratulations on finishing your story with Roman Reigns. That story's over. But this story between me and you, this is just beginning. So now Cody is living in this environment where The Rock, who, as he said, by his own volition, is moving off into the sunset, but he's looming. He's hanging over the head of Cody Rhodes. And that is what being the Universal Champion is all about. That there's going to be challengers everywhere you look. And just when you think you know exactly who the target is, you realize The Rock is still somewhere hanging around up here. He's waiting. At some point, old DJ will be back, ready to not only take that title, but do what he promised to do, split your skin, spread it on a weight belt, and hand it over to Mama Rhodes. So between The Rock's promo and with Cody on Raw and the tweet, the simple tweet that Roman Reigns sent out, we've now got The Rock versus Cody, Roman versus Cody, Roman versus Rock, all laid out and all ready to go. And I don't know when they're going to happen. This is a new era, baby. This is wild. The reset button is being hit. End of the month, we're getting a draft. If I had to guess, I mean, look, I don't know. Because I'm sure they're going to, look, I also think that at some point we can get Cody versus Seth. At some point we're going to be able to get Cody versus Punk. Maybe Cody versus Priest. You know, maybe he goes over to SmackDown. Maybe we see Cody versus Orton. Maybe Logan Paul loses the title. Maybe his United States title, maybe he goes after Cody Rhodes. I don't know. And I think it's tough to predict right now, especially because I've been getting so much stuff wrong going into WrestleMania. But I would love to see The Rock and Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. Boy, would I love to see a stadium full of people in Cleveland ready to see the final boss in the American Nightmare. What? I mean, you want to make SummerSlam big? That's a big match. It may not. Maybe it'll be next year's WrestleMania main event. But like I said, you've also still got Roman and The Rock that you haven't done. You could go into WrestleMania and have Cody versus some huge opponent and then do Roman versus The Rock for the People's Championship. There's a lot you can do and a lot that I am looking forward to seeing. But I said I've been getting a lot wrong lately, and I got a lot wrong going into WrestleMania. You know, I got night one pretty much on the nose, but night two was a mess. Night two, I didn't get right at all. I was sure. Well, I missed by 2, but it was 2 that I insisted, okay? Let's be honest. I insisted that Roman wasn't losing, and he lost. But that's my bloodline fandom. What can I tell you? I said it. I'm a bloodline guy. It's who I am. I'm never going to come on this podcast and tell you Roman Reigns is going to lose. It won't happen. So if you're watching this podcast going, oh, I can't wait for the episode where Sam says, hey, Roman Reigns is going to lose this week. It's not going to happen. Don't listen. When he'll return one day and he'll beat everybody, okay? I'm not here to tell you Roman Reigns is going to lose. I'm here to tell you Roman Reigns is going to win. That's what's going to happen. But what I really messed up on, and I probably am going to need to apologize to some emailers, is the fact that, like, I got to the point where I was poo-pooing emails that were being sent in talking about Damien Priest cashing in on Drew McIntyre. I said, doesn't make any sense. I don't like it at all. I didn't take it all into account. Look, my problem is, and this is my problem, I was looking at things the old way. How I thought WWE might have done things at one point. The idea that, like, Drew McIntyre would just win and he'd be kind of beaten up and then Damian Priest would just come in. That didn't work for me. But we don't do things the old way. We do things the new era way. Maybe it's the Paul Levesque way. According to Stephanie McMahon, she called it the Paul Levesque era. But I didn't take into account the CM Punk of it all. The CM Punk of it all changes everything and makes it all make sense. Drew McIntyre's beef ultimately isn't with Damian Priest. Drew McIntyre is a logical guy. Drew McIntyre can't be mad at Damian Priest. Drew McIntyre knows that Damian Priest is the guy that he's going to have to beat to get his title. But the rivalry is not with Damian Priest. The rivalry is with the guy who caused it to happen, and that's CM Punk. It was a reap what you sow scenario. Drew McIntyre live tweeting from ringside was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Having him not only beat Seth Rollins, but they actually took the time to give him his moment. It wasn't just, I won the title, boom, here we go. Like, remember that year at SummerSlam that Daniel Bryan won the title and then Randy Orton came in and cashed in? It was cool. It made Randy a heel. It made you want Daniel Bryan to have his moment again. But they, like, started his moment, right? It wasn't really, that wasn't the moment. It kind of felt like for Drew it was the moment. He was in the ring getting to hold the title. He was giving Seth a look. Seth was in tears. Drew McIntyre had a look of almost respect for what he and Seth Rollins had just gone through. Drew McIntyre had his lady at ringside, gave her a hug. It had really happened. And then Drew McIntyre made a choice. Timing is everything. Drew McIntyre made this choice. He slowly turns his head and realizes that CM Punk is still sitting at the commentary table. So what does he do? He walks right up to him, the guy whose WrestleMania moment that he stole. He walks right up to CM Punk and puts it right in his face And then he turns his back to CM Punk, stands up on the table, and that's when CM Punk's able to trip him and take off the brace, hit him with the brace, beat him down just enough for Damien Priest to realize what's happened. And CM Punk is left laughing as Damien Priest holds the title in the air. Now you've got Damien Priest as the world champion who hasn't lost any of his heat. And you've got Drew McIntyre, who we did see have the moment, have it all snatched away from him. And ultimately, it was CM Punk that snatched it all away from him. It really is, after WrestleMania, especially night 2, changing the way I look at scenarios. I think it's going to change the way we have these conversations. Well, we are in an era where this might happen or that might happen, you know? I thought it was awesome. And then for CM Punk to make the surprise appearance on Raw, stopping Drew McIntyre from becoming the number 1 contender. I don't know when we're getting this CM Punk-Drew McIntyre match. See, I feel like Drew McIntyre is going to be the champion at some point. So when CM Punk was on Ariel Helwani's show, he said that he wasn't necessarily, like, that the timing in him coming back was going to be more based around business than just the injury. It's not like as soon as the injury's healed, CM Punk is back in. He said, and everything counts, that he'd be back in when it made sense for business. Is Backlash CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre? Is CM Punk healed enough for it? I don't know. Does it make sense for business for it to happen at Backlash? I don't know. You know, part of me felt like they were going to do they'll do Damian Priest versus Jey Uso at Backlash. And then the next, I don't know what, I think there's another pay-per-view. I don't know. But Clash at the Castle is in Glasgow, Scotland in June. I kind of thought they were going to go with Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre in Glasgow, Scotland. But on this road with Punk, it doesn't necessarily make sense that would happen. It would be really interesting if you just do Drew McIntyre versus Punk in Glasgow, because then, like, how are they going to react? Are they going to be thrilled to see CM Punk, or are they going to cheer for the hometown boy, the Scottish warrior, Drew McIntyre? Either way, it's going to be really, really cool. Elsewhere, of course, the draft was announced. It's actually a week before Backlash, so it'll be interesting to see how those two kind of coexist, right? Like how stories are built. Our story's going to be interrupted by the fact that the draft, I always hate when they do a draft a week before a pay-per-view. Unless you can build stories where there's no tomorrow. Jey Uso has to win this match or he'll never, right? If Damian Priest is drafted, if the Judgment Day as a whole is drafted to SmackDown, then all of a sudden Jey has to beat Damian Priest tonight because Jey Uso was not drafted to SmackDown. So this is his one shot at Damian Priest. Those are stories you can tell, and those are stories I would imagine would be told. Because in this era of WWE, every opportunity to tell a story, it appears, is being taken to tell a story. And it's an awesome, awesome thing to witness. I want to thank all you guys that came out to the Helium Comedy Club in Philadelphia on Wednesday. We had an amazing house. We had an amazing time with Mark Henry, Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, R-Truth, and Megan Moran, all there on stage with me. And for you guys that were there, you know that some of the conversations will simply never make the air. But some of it will. I'll get some video up. You'll be able to see some highlights. But you really want to be there live. We started with the show at the Royal Rumble in Tampa this year. And that had Rhea Ripley and Samantha Irvin, and then Gerald Briscoe, Tommy Dreamer, and Who Kid all coming together, which was unbelievable. That hasn't made its way to video yet. And then we had, of course, WrestleMania week, which was the show I just described. I would say if you're going to Toronto for Money in the Bank, leave Thursday open. Okay? Leave Thursday night open. Because Notsam Wrestling live is on the road. And we're going to be there for every exciting show that we can possibly be there for in this amazing Paul Levesque era of WWE. Let's get to these emails. I know you guys got a lot to say after an amazing WrestleMania weekend. I hope not. And you know what? Honestly, I don't know because I haven't checked the emails yet. You know I check the emails live on the air. But if I'm getting a bunch of emails that are roasting me, either A, for the Damien Priest take, or B, for the worst analysis that I've ever given with that Seth Rollins thing on the Sunday emergency cast, I deserve it. I roast you. If you want to roast me, roast me. Tyler writes in, Sam, first, what an amazing WrestleMania it was. I was watching with a few of my friends that did not like WWE and even talk negatively about it often. I don't see how you could even maintain friendships with people like that. There are people who think that pro wrestling sucks. They're called idiots, ignorant boobs, fools who develop opinions on things they know nothing about. Because all you have to do is watch wrestling for a second and you'll realize it's amazing. Their eyes were glued to the TV and now they are hooked. That's what I'm talking about. A few things I want your thoughts on. Okay, I probably give it, let's see. We obviously should have been and should continue to acknowledge Roman Reigns. He's the tribal chief. One's up for the tribal chief. One's up for the tribal chief. For what he has done for the company and everyone around him, he's nothing short of the GOAT, for sure. GOATed, for sure. However, Rollins deserves huge props as well. He had a lot to do with the success. Triple H even alluded to it. Rollins made the World Heavyweight Championship mean something. Rollins is low-key top tier. I'm a big Seth Rollins guy. Seth Rollins is probably the most underrated star on the roster, and he's the former World Heavyweight Champion. So he's highly rated and still underrated, in my opinion. 2, I felt the LA Knight AJ Styles match should have been more extreme given the buildup. I see where you're coming from. I think they didn't want to take any heat away from the street fight, but you're not wrong. You know, I liked the pull-apart brawl that they did at the media day. But, yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, with the main event being Bloodline Rules, with Saturday night having The Rock tell the referee he was going to get fired if he disqualified him, with the street fight between the Prophets and the Final Testament, I just think there's only so many extreme matches you can do. But you're not wrong. 3, Taker coming back was a better move than Austin, even if WWE preferred Austin. That's a hot take. I'm not saying it's wrong either. I think Taker coming back was more surprising than Austin. I think the gong going off is always an amazing thing. I wasn't disappointed that Taker came out at all. I loved it. And 4, should Drew get double booked from now on so he is not bored? It's a good question. I mean, that tweet cost him, though. Thank you, buddy. Dave writes in. Dave's coming from Aberdeen, Scotland. My man. Sam, loved the Shield references in the WrestleMania main event. It started at Royal Rumble 2022 when Roman got so frustrated with Seth coming out to the Shield music in their match that he ended up getting himself DQ'd. And now in this main event, Seth comes out to the Shield music and the Shield gear again as he knows it frustrates Roman. He made sure to get a chair into the ring because he knows Roman never got that betrayal, and he was right. Roman, with the chair in hand, took out Seth instead of Cody, which cost him the match. Seth truly was Cody's Shield. Brilliant. Loved it. Dave hit the nail on the head, in my opinion, my friend. I wish I had been that succinct on Sunday. I hope that you forgive me and that my analysis today was better. I felt real bad about it. I mean, I've literally, for days, been kicking myself. Real mad at me. Real mad at me. Dirk writes in, what a time to be a pro wrestling fan. We all love saying it, don't we? It's still sports entertainment, by the way. Still sports entertainment, but also pro wrestling. I thought I was going to be able to have a victory lap Stone Cold prediction email, but The Undertaker is an amazing consolation prize. Undertaker rules. With Jay going after Priest, who do you think will be the first opponent for Cody? I mean, it's a good question. I didn't answer that right. I mean, you got to look at Raw and SmackDown. At Backlash, when you look at what happened at WrestleMania, could be a lot of people. Any big... There weren't a lot... That's the thing about WrestleMania is there weren't a lot of big heel wins. And that's by design, right? It was, as we said, at WrestleMania, good guys win, except for all the years that Roman won. I don't know. I'm going to have my eyes on SmackDown. I don't know if Cody will be on SmackDown. I hope he is. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. I'll bet it'll be somebody from SmackDown. I'm just not 100% who yet. And by the way, how about R-Truth and A-Town Down Under winning Tag Team Championship gold? I love it. Riley writes in, I'll admit I haven't watched wrestling for years. That is until last year. I love hearing stuff like this. You know I love hearing stuff like this. I got the Rock's goosebumps on my arm right now. I was drawn back in with Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. Of course you were. I continued to commit a cardinal sin, and I only watched the pay-per-views and never turned into Raw or SmackDown. No, come on, bro. It's rule number 1. Watch the product. That doesn't mean PLEs. That means the product. That all changed today. I love this. As I was too intrigued not to and thought it was time to properly, my man Riley, watch the product. Just one episode of Raw in, and I can't stand how these ad breaks destroy any momentum the show has. They gave you the first hour commercial free. Television shows have commercials. Sorry, dude. It's borderline criminal, in my opinion. Are you writing into my podcast to tell me you don't like the TV shows have commercials? Is that where we're at right now? Who's going to pay for the show? How long has it been like this? What, Raw having commercials? Since the dawn of time. And before Raw, I'm going to tell you, this is going to shock you, Riley. Every show on television has commercials. I know. I can't say I'll be tuning in next Monday now. It's such left side. I mean, I hope the ads are less. Dude, I'm not finishing this. If you're seriously going, I love Raw, but there's too many commercials. It's a television show. It's got the standard amount of breaks per television show, and the first hour was commercial free. You're a maniac. I love you for emailing in. I hope you don't mind if you're watching on YouTube, the ad breaks. Richard writes in, what's in Cody's hand? We didn't even talk about this. Here's my theory. The Rock told Cody he was a mistake baby in the build to WrestleMania 40. What if The Rock handed him a condom just to plant the seed to remind us how much of it's not a condom, dude. I like it. It's funny. It's not a condom. Cody obviously had an emotional reaction. I have no idea what The Rock handed Cody. I saw theories. Could have been a Hall of Fame ring. Could have been. It was maybe something Dusty had. Maybe he said, "Never break my heart again." I don't know what it was. Maybe it was something Cody once gave The Rock that The Rock was giving back to Cody because he hates him now. I don't know. I'm interested, but it was not a condom. Aiden writes in from New Zealand. Kia ora, my man. From New Zealand. The Notsam Wrestling podcast is so global. My name is Aiden. I started listening in 2017. My guy. Fun fact, I started listening to you before my daughter was due, and now she is 6. Oh, my God. And we listened to you on the ride to school, and she loves WWE. Well, you didn't say what her name was, but I'm going to tell you, Aiden's daughter, you're the best. That's awesome. I appreciate that. I hope that you don't mind that Daddy listens to this. Just my interpretation on Seth Rollins coming out in Shield gear. I looked at it in terms of Seth knew the monster he created when he betrayed Roman all those years ago and his trust. Seth knew he had to bait and sacrifice to really be Cody's Shield and take the hit on the chair and ultimately baiting Roman in. Thoughts on this, or is it a far reach? No, Aiden, you nailed it, dude. You nailed it. I was off on this one. You were right. Oh, I don't like the way that feels when it comes out of my mouth. I don't like saying that stuff. I really did not like that at all. Dustin writes in, greetings from Toronto to the God of Wrestling podcast. Dustin, what are you doing on the 4th of July, Dustin? First of all, I caught what you said quietly into the mic on your emergency podcast on night 2 of WrestleMania, as I'm sure most people did. I'll be seeing you in Toronto for the live Not Sam during Money in the Bank. Oh, did I say that? Did I say that? Hope you're free on July 4th. I can't express words how excited I am to witness your live show. I can't express words to express how I'm excited to see you, Dustin. Now, going on to the meat of the mailer. Love that. Oh, meat of the matter. Meat of the mailer is better. Did Triple H look absolutely pissed to you walking down the ramp into the ring when Cody called him out? You were there live, so you may haven't gotten the right angle. Yeah, I didn't get it right at all watching it live. You hear the Seth stuff? But presuming you've seen the televised version, he did not look like a happy Triple H at all, at least to me. Thoughts? I don't think he was angry. I think he was just, when Triple H walks to the ring, he's just intense Triple H. I think that's all it was. I think Triple H probably asked Cody not to do that, and Cody did it anyway, but I don't think it's the type of thing he would have gotten mad at. Let's see. This person with no name writes in, I'm going to my first ever WWE show in Detroit Friday night. Detroit, what? Detroit, what? So excited. Still trying to digest Roman Reigns is not champ anymore, but hoping to see Cody Friday night. I hope you enjoyed all your time at Mania Week. Yeah, dude, you're going to have a blast. Or lady, you're going to have a blast. And if you're going on Friday, it's a SmackDown. You're going to a SmackDown where Roman Reigns is no longer the... I'm not going to say it. I almost said Tribal Chief. I'm not going to say that. Andrew writes in, Sam, I am irate with all the Seth Rollins slander. Thank you. I deserve it. Seth lost his title because he was focused on the bloodline instead of Drew. Drew lost the title because he was focused on CM Punk. The only reason that Roman lost the title was due to being focused on getting revenge on Seth Rollins instead of delivering the finishing blow to Cody. It was thematic to WrestleMania and something that could only have come to fruition through a true visionary, acknowledge the architect. Andrew, Seth did not deserve an ounce of the slander that was given to him on this podcast just days ago. If I have too much integrity to take the podcast down, but it's a shameful moment. That part of it. The rest of the podcast is great. I love the rest of the podcast. That part of it is very upset about. Anybody that knows me, I've talked to them about it. I feel bad about it. Andrew writes in, during your emergency pod, thank you. You said you didn't understand why Seth was in his Shield gear. At that time, I was with you. But as I think about it more, I think it's a case of everything counts. Okay. I'm glad that some of you also... Yeah, I'm just glad that with some of us, we're all so caught up in the moment that we miss things. I beat myself up over it, though. In the end, Roman chose his desire to get revenge on Seth over keeping his title. That's why he chose to hit Seth and not Cody. In Roman's mind, he has always been in the right because Seth turned on him. Yeah, first all these years ago, that's eventually creating this monster. Seth was in his head at the Royal Rumble when Roman lost by DQ. Some beautiful long-term storytelling, but let me know if you agree or not. Agree. You're right. By the way, I appreciate you guys not destroying me because you're bigger people than I am. I've been very impatient with some emailers, and you emailers should have been. This was me. Like, you guys have every right to be Avengers to me. The way everyone the bloodline ever messed with came back for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. When my reaction to the Seth Rollins stuff, you emailers that I've blasted have every right to come back on me and blast me now. Iola. I'll call you Iola. It's tough for me to say, but I really appreciate you. Many thanks for all you're doing in educating and entertaining us with your various platforms, podcasts, YouTube videos, and even the bump. Don't forget Raw Talk. And the countdown shows. What's your take on people being so tied to contracts that even Dustin Rhodes, Cody's brother, was not able to be at ringside to witness an epic moment in the life of his younger brother Cody winning at WrestleMania because of his AEW contract? I could be wrong, but it's such a shame. I mean, it's business, I think, people are under contract. You can't just have, if you're trying to run a business, you can't have wrestlers just going show to show to your competition. And when people, you could make deals, and deals have been made before where people have made appearances. Chris Jericho appeared on the Stone Cold podcast. Billy Gunn was at the Hall of Fame that year. But there are also times where you're in competition and it's like, no. AEW is looking at the WWE having one of the biggest moments ever. And they're like, we don't want to add to it. What good does that do us? You could argue that it does because it'll bring the whole industry up, or you could argue that AEW is better just hanging out in their own sandbox. But if it's your sandbox, why help the competition? Unless, there's a business purpose for it. Okay, starting in hot. Cody won. Are we done seeing the final boss? No. Do we get Roman and The Rock in the near future? It depends on what your take on the near future is. Or is it a slow burn situation? I think it's more of a slow burn. Like, it's not within the next 3 months, if that's what you're asking. I don't think. No one really spoke much about Senor Money in the Bank. Do you think the surprise factor is why they did it? Like you said, I thought it made zero sense to have him cash in happen on McIntyre, yet here we are. No, it made sense the way they did it. I thought it made a lot of sense the way they did it. We have a new world champion. I thought coming out of WrestleMania, if you really watched it, which I finally really watched it, Rollins looked great, McIntyre looked great, Damien Priest looked great, and CM Punk looked great. So that's the goal, right? Tim writes in, hey, Sam, first-time emailer. Got to call you out. Good. Regarding the finish of Night 2 of WrestleMania. On your emergency podcast, you said Seth didn't really do anything to help Cody and got taken out by Roman. Not true. He came out in the Shield gear knowing it would trigger Roman and take his attention away from Cody momentarily, which it did. Roman chose to hit Seth in the back with the chair, exactly how Seth did it to Roman 10 years ago. Yes. Roman chose revenge over keeping the championship. Yes. Seth was ultimately the downfall and final nail in the coffin of Roman's reign. Yes. He kept his promise to Cody by being his shield. Perfect storytelling. It was perfect, Tim. You are right. I was wrong. 100%. You are good to email me and call me out. Michael writes in, Sam, what's the haps? I hope all the events in Philly went well for you. If you've already spoke about this, forgive me, but I think after all the events that happened at WrestleMania last year, Royal Rumble this year, the press conference in January to WrestleMania last night, there needs to be rule number 4, and that's let them cook. That's all. I'm not ready to make it an official rule. It's certainly a theme. Can't wait to see that YouTube video, the documentary on everything that went into this year's WrestleMania, by the way. Ed Hill, I don't know if that's your name, writes in. I just wanted to point out Seth Rollins' contribution to the Great Saga, as I haven't seen many people acknowledge it online. Seth won the world title and did everything in his power to make it relevant and prized as prestigious as the undisputed title because he blames himself for the creation of Roman Reigns. He destroyed his own body trying to fix his mistake and nearly succeeded as talents like Priest, McIntyre, and Gunther started to prize the world title as more prestigious than the undisputed title. I don't know if more prestigious, but up there. He definitely elevated it. He wanted Cody to choose him. No, you're right. You're 100% right, dude. You're 100% right. It's a little long. You're 100% right. Corey is hitting me back, responding tonight to Emergency Pod. I believe that Seth was intended to be Cody's shield. Maybe not as planned, but still. Exactly right. Not in the traditional sense, but yes. If we're going to elevate wrestling, we have to be able to analyze wrestling. I have to be able to analyze wrestling. It won't happen again. Listening to your Night 2 reaction. This is from Michael in Toronto. July 4th. Having Seth come out as the Shield made total sense. It absolutely did. Roman wanted revenge when Seth got back in. Yes, you're 100% right, Michael. I appreciate you. Josh writes in. Thank you for both emergency podcasts after spending all day at Mania. Seth showing up in Shield gear did make sense. Yes, 100% right. Seth appeared to need help from Kevin Owens out of the ring. Seth was selling the weekend, or is he that hurt? No, I mean, I think he's selling a whole career. He's selling everything. You know, Seth being helped out was the fact that he's destroyed his body defending the World Heavyweight title. He's destroyed his body throughout his career, and the one last shot he gave to Cody so that Cody could beat Roman Reigns. That's 100%. One last thing. I'm so pumped for the CM Punk pipe bomb defining moments figure announced by Ringside Collectibles. A while back, I asked you what your holy grail wrestling figure was, and you said the upcoming CM Punk figures. This is a version I've always wanted. I've already pre-ordered it. Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I was very psyched to see it on the panel when we revealed it. Larry writes in, Dear Sammy, brand muffins, I truly hope this makes the show. It's making it, because this week I've been wrestling with these feelings that the Night 2 main event didn't deliver how I hoped. Wow, that's a wild take. I admittedly wanted Roman to keep the title in perpetuity. Me, you, and Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank. But I guess it's just not sitting right with me that Cody also got to cheat in a match named Bloodline Rules. Look, that was another thing that I will never apologize for, because I didn't predict that Bloodline Rules meant that nobody else could interfere. I said that Bloodline Rules should mean that. That's all. The fact that it didn't, that's a mistake that the Bloodline made. Yeah. Methinks a dusty finish is afoot. Paul and the final boss used that loophole to strip Cody of the championship. No. You don't have Cody beat Roman Reigns and do a dusty finish. It's insane. I know. I'm trying to be much more sensitive with my emails because clearly, I mean, if I had been right about everything at WrestleMania, I would have been a monster. But now I'm being a little more sensitive, a little bit more careful. Let's do 2 more. Matt writes in, I think you may have to introduce a new rule for the Notsam universe. Watch the product, speculate wildly, everything counts, and we don't fantasy book Roman Reigns. Just thought I have to disagree with you, dude. After that tweet that Roman sent out, I have to say we are safe to fantasy book Roman Reigns for at least the time being. That may change, but for at least the time being, I've got to allow it. All right, last one. TJ writes in, WrestleMania was my favorite Mania. Wow, WrestleMania was my favorite ever Mania. Night 1 was really good. The cold weather definitely had a part in the crowd coming off as dull, but trust me, there was still energy. Every match delivered. Oh, except for Jay versus Jimmy. Okay. He says, Night 2 was outstanding. I loved every match, especially seeing the Avengers stop the Bloodline and Cody finishing the story. This was the best Mania of all time, and I'm glad I can say I was there. I mean, yeah. WrestleMania 40 was amazing. When I got home from Philadelphia, the first thing that I did, and this is how you know, dude. I mean, dude, I drove to Philadelphia on Wednesday in the pouring rain. Checked into the hotel, got things together, went and did a live Notsam Wrestling podcast. Pulled it off. It was great. Couldn't find food anywhere, was starving, went to bed hungry, woke up 5 hours later, walked over to WWE World, did the bump. That was Thursday. I don't even remember what happened the rest of Thursday. I feel like stuff happened. I'm still in a daze. Friday, woke up again. Oh, Thursday night was Wale Mania, of course. So woke up early, went to the bump, did the bump, hung out at WWE World, finally found some food, then went to Wale Mania at night, which was a scene. Friday, wake up again. Get to go do the Pat McAfee show. Sitting at the desk with Pat McAfee, the Pat McAfee boys, Boston Connor, the whole group of them, and Michael Cole. Friday night, have a great dinner with some great wrestling fans, including Wrestling for Sale and old Dipperstein, and get ready for Countdown to Stand and Deliver with Megan Morant, which we woke up at 6:30 in the morning on Saturday to get to the arena to do so we could go live at 11 a.m., then walked right over to the stadium so we could take in WrestleMania Night 1. Recorded an emergency podcast. Woke up the next morning, gave CM Punk a slammy, presented the new CM Punk action figures alongside CM Punk and the boys at Mattel. Went over to the stadium to be a part of WrestleMania Night 2. Recorded an emergency podcast. Woke up the next morning, early. Went and recorded the bump, did it live at WWE World. One of the highest watched bumps of all time. I appreciate that more than you know. Got some lunch after the bump. Drove home, ran out of gas on the way. Had to wait by the side of the road for about 40 minutes. Got the car going again. Got some gas in. Drove home. I had an hour and a half before I had to drive to Stamford to do Raw Talk live on Peacock. And in that hour and a half, after that whole weekend, you know what I did? I turned on the main event of WrestleMania 40 to watch it with my son. I wasn't wrestlinged out. I wasn't just give me an escape, just give me a break. I've just had the most intense wrestling weekend of all time. I've got an hour and a half before I talk about wrestling again. What am I going to do? I grab my 7-year-old son. I don't tell him who won between Cody and Roman Reigns because he loves them both. And I watch him lose his mind at 7 years old. At the same storytelling that I'm losing my mind watching at 40 years old, that you're losing your mind watching. This is the magic of professional wrestling. This is the magic of WWE. WrestleMania 40 fucking ruled. Thank you for listening to Notsam Wrestling. Subscribe, like, rating, review, comment. We'll see you soon.